Hello and welcome, one and all. It's your boy Jay, that's me. Let's get into AEW Dynamite from January the 22nd, 2025. Not a good show, kind of boring, and a lot of random stuff happened on this show, but it is what it is. I'm pretty sure we have one more week of randomness left to go. And then after that, it'll be February. And then that's when we'll start getting things into gear for Revolution in March. So I don't know what Tony Khan's doing, but he's got to do something. I think it's personally time for Tony Khan to be removed from AEW completely and to have him just fund AEW. That's it. That's all he needs to do. Seriously. Because this guy sucks. Tony Khan is just awful. 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 So we kicked the show off with Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega. So the crowd popped massively for both guys, basically. Pause. So, Will Ospreay welcomes Kenny Omega back. He says things have changed. He has nothing to do with the Don Callis family. He also said Kenny came back at a bad time between the family and the Death Riders, with Mox holding the title hostage. Will Ospreay can't do it alone. So Will Ospreay was interrupted by Kenny Omega. And so Kenny said last time they faced each other was at Forbidden Door in 2023, where Kenny was not only dropped on his head, but stabbed with a screwdriver, handed to Will Ospreay by Don Callis, which makes him know better and why. He did that all because he had to prove that he was the best. Kenny Omega doesn't believe Will Ospreay was better back then, and he sure isn't better now. Omega says it took diverticulitis, keeping him away for people to know that Will Ospreay even existed. And then he congratulates Will Ospreay for being number 2, because number 1 is standing right in front of him. So then the Don Callis family show up, and it's a massive brawl that goes about a good, I'd say, 12 to 15 minutes. This thing was long. And I'm like, what the hell? So the Don Callis family and Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay, they're all fighting in the back. They're fighting in the crowd. They're fighting on the merch table. Then eventually, Kenny, he jumps from the light fixture or whatever. Well, not the light fixture, but he jumps off that. Will Ospreay jumps off the balcony. They take out everybody. They also do a double suplex to take out Lance Archer earlier on. And both of them then challenge Kyle Fletcher and Tanosuke Takeshita at AEW Grand Slam in Australia. So Kenny then offers an apology to Will Ospreay for not believing in him from the start. And then, like I say, they challenged him to a tag match, and that was it. So this is fine, but it took way too long for all this to happen and occur. This whole segment should have lasted no more than about, at best, 5 to 8 minutes. It is what it is. Do I care about this? No, I don't. This is not until mid-February, so we still have time. We have a little ways to go, like another 3.5 weeks left for everything to kind of play out. So we'll have to wait and see how things go, but we all knew this is where this is going, and I guess this is fine, but both Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay should be higher on the card. I mean, those are guys that could be feuding with Moxley right now. And we'll talk about that shit show when we get to it, because I am so sick of the Death Rider storyline. That shit has pissed me off to no end. Moving on. So, we get a video package for Pac, and that was it. Pac has been in AEW for 5 years. He's not done much of anything. He's had good matches for the most part. And he was the first ever international champion. I believe he was the first ever trios champion. No, he was not. He won the trios championships when Penta was there, along with Ray Phoenix, when the Lucha Bros were there. Well, you know, Penta's in WWE, and Ray Phoenix is frozen via his contract by Tony Khan. So, yeah. But Pac, he needs to get out of AEW. I feel that he would be a better fit in like a TNA or going into a New Japan. I would do something like that for him because it just makes sense. But he has not done anything in AEW worthwhile. He has just been there just to be there. And that's fine, but I don't know. Moving on. So, the Death Riders, they're backstage. So, Moxley, he said that Edge is waking up to a world that he's not seen before, from 2011 to 2025. He talks about finishing what he started with Bryan Danielson and Darby Allin, before saying next time Edge heads to the doctor, he'll be met with a worst case scenario. And then he's talking about building the future, and that was it. I don't really give a shit about this stuff. Moving on. So this leads us into our first match of the night. The Hurt Syndicate, a.k.a. the Hurt Business, they defeat Private Party to become the new AEW World Tag Team Champions. And am I upset about this? No, not really. Private Party should have been gone from AEW a long time ago. I would say arguably around year 3. The reason why I say that is because they would really be better off in WWE or TNA. It's just they're being wasted and they're going to shit. But I don't really know. I mean, we all knew that this was a plan from the start. We all knew that Tony Khan was going to bury the fuck out of Private Party because he had no plans for them. And we all knew this going in, so it's really nothing to get mad about. You know, Private Party, in my opinion, they should have been gone a long time ago. And I'm a fan of Private Party. I'm just saying that they should be in, like, TNA or even in WWE. Maybe NXT for, like 6 months to a year, and then bring them out to the main roster. But Private Party is good. They are. But they've done nothing. They've done nothing. And they've just been feuding with the Young Bucks off and on. It's just, it's sad, but I don't know. It really is what it is at this point. So, props to the Hurt Business for winning. Makes perfect sense. What do you do with them going forward? I have no idea. Is the feud with Bobby Lashley and Swerve, is that shit over with? It basically seems like it because they've not done much of anything unless they're going to go back around and kind of get back to that story maybe around, not a Revolution, but probably around Double or Nothing, maybe. I don't know. But they got to do something. Moving on. So, we get a video package highlighting the Women's World Championship match for Grand Slam Australia before going backstage. So Toni Storm, she's interrupted by Harley Cameron. The Ricky Toni Storm says there's no reason Harley Cameron can't also wrestle in Australia. Something Cameron looks pleased. to think about. Okay, so that's fine, I guess. I mean, does it really matter? No, it doesn't, because that show's gonna be happening at 5 in the morning. Like, nobody's gonna be up at that time to even watch it. So I don't really give a shit about it. And the Grand Slam show in Australia is not really doing all that hot, so I don't know why they even did it. To me, that was dumb, but you win some, you lose some, I guess. Moving on. So, Jeff Jarrett is backstage. He's about to get interviewed by Alex Marvez. Alex Marvez is then pushed away by Karen Jarrett. She said that she's worried about the following the back and forth between MJF and Jeff Jarrett. Jeff assures her that he's got this. Okay, that's fine. Do I care about this? No, not really. Moving on. So Jeff Jarrett goes to the ring. He talks about Jerry Lawler. Looking back to a match. Looking back to a match the pair were in. Jeff Jarrett was beaten down physically and verbally. When he went to the locker room, Jeff Jarrett was met by Jerry Lawler, who asked him what the hell he was thinking. He gave him advice, which is basically in the gutter with your enemies. I mean, never get in the gutter with your enemies. Jeff says sometimes it's good to be reminded of who you are. He wants to sell things with MJF Southern style. He promises to take Freeman out to the behind the woodshed and put him out of his misery. Jeff Jarrett continues on by saying, the fans gave him the gift of believing that a 57-year-old man can become AEW World Champion. Jeff Jarrett calls out Jon Moxley to come out and talk. So Claudio comes out instead. He attacks Jeff Jarrett from behind. Claudio gets on the mic. He cut an okay promo. It was short and sweet. He tells Jeff Jarrett that nobody gets to Mox without getting through him first. He tells Jeff Jarrett to stay out of their business. And he leads through the crowd. And then Jeff Jarrett tells him to stop. He says Claudio knows him better than this, that he's going to have to kill him to stop him. Mox is Jeff Jarrett's target, but talks to Claudio about beating him next week for a shot at the world title. Claudio says that beating Jeff lifeless is an interesting proposal, and then he accepts the match. Okay, that's it. This is fine. Do I give a single fuck about this? No, I don't. I am not thrilled about this, but it does make sense. I do think they will give Jeff Jarrett the AEW World Championship, but it'll probably be towards the end of this year. So I would say maybe either at Full Gear this year or at World's End. I don't see them doing that during the summer. And I know people are talking about Darby and all that, but you can't do Darby. You just can't. Darby is totally a transitional champion. I would give Darby a run with the title for maybe about a month at best, 2 months, nothing beyond that. I don't even know if I would go a full 2 months with Darby as champion. I just don't. And again, I'm a fan of Darby. I like him, but Darby, he's focused on climbing Mount Everest, and if I was Tony Khan, once he got back from doing that, I would kind of bury the shit out of him, because a lot of fans want this Death Riders takeover storyline to end, and it does, because this thing cannot last up until All In. It can't last for another 6 months. Like this shit has to end at Revolution. Seriously. But this was fine. Moving on. So we get a video package that only lasted for like 15 seconds. It featured Megan Bain. Okay, that's fine. She'll probably do some stuff on Collision, more than likely. So, yeah, who gives a shit? I wouldn't be shocked if within like a year or two we see her in in NXT or maybe even TNA for that matter. I'm just being honest. Like, seriously. Everybody wants to get out of AEW. Come on. Because Tony Khan's not going to push Megan Bayne at all. She'll be on Collision in like a month. I guarantee you. Mark my words. She'll be on Collision. She'll be just like Deonna Purrazzo. She'll be brought in for a second, be showcased for a month or two, and then she'll go right back to NXT. Right back down to Collision, and she'll stay there until Tony wants to bring her up and do something with her. That's what she's gonna do. I guarantee you guys that. Moving on, Swerve defeats AR Fox. Who cares? Ricochet came out towards the end of the match. He abducted Prince Nana and basically Ricochet threatened to stab Prince Nana in the neck with the scissors. He says this may be Swerve's house, but he's the new landlord, and rent is due. And then he laughs, and I guess this is gonna set up their first match in like 2 weeks from now. So that's cool. I think this will probably be a trilogy. So we'll start it in like 2.5 weeks, then we'll continue the feud at Revolution and maybe end the feud. I think Double Nothing is way too far for that. I would just end the feud on like a random Dynamite, if we're being honest. Seriously. Like, could we do 4 months of this feud? Hell no, we can't. There's no way we can go from March, from now until May. No, just get the feud out of the way, and I guess maybe revisit the Swerve and Hurt Business feud. Let's see how that shit turns out. Moving on. So, basically, this leads us into Chris Jericho. We get another New York Minute. He addressed about what happened on Saturday. He calls out W. Morrissey, a.k.a. Big Bill, being the reason for the loss. Chris Jericho says, learning moments only work if you actually learn from them. So, W. Morrissey calls out Will Hobbs. He challenges him to a match in Jacksonville, and then he walks off. And then the rest of the learning tree they approve. So Brian keeps still there. So okay, that's fine. Do I care about this shit? No, I don't. Moving on. So we get a brief little promo by MJF. He gets on the mic real quick, and he runs down Jeff Jarrett for not accepting his offer a couple weeks ago. He talks about Jeff Jarrett being senile before insisting these fans don't love him anymore, despite the fans chanting Double J to prove otherwise. MJF says that Jeff Jarrett is about to learn that sometimes it's better to make a deal with the devil instead of defying him, and then that was it. And then him and Adam Page have a brief little stare down, and that was it. Moving on, Adam Page quickly disposes of Jay Scoop, a.k.a. a jobber, so he wins via not the buckshot lariat, but he did like a little. He did Christopher Daniels' finish, the Fallen Angel thing. So he did that. So post match, Hangman beats up the jobber some more. He hits another Angel's wings. So Christopher Daniels comes out. He's got a brace on his neck. So Hangman runs up to the ramp to yell at Christopher Daniels. He cuts him off. He said that the buckshot lariat that he received on this past Saturday, added to all his previous injuries, and doctors advised him to never wrestle again. He says that Page won the last match that Christopher Daniels will ever wrestle. And he hopes that it makes Hangman happy. And then he walks off. So, do I care about any of this shit? Fuck no. This is whack. Moving on. So, Mercedes Moné, she now has 4 belts, which actually mean nothing. She's the female Kenny Omega, belt collector-wise. So she talks about wrestling all over the world and looks forward to wrestling in Australia. So, Harley Cameron makes her second appearance of the night. She's hoping to hop on the money train, and then she sings a nice little tune, and that was pretty cool. So, Mercedes then runs down Harley Quinn, saying that she didn't even want a match in AEW, and she said it's a hard no for her. So that's funny, I guess. Do I care about this shit? No, I don't. It's whack. Moving on. Jamie Hayter defeats Julia Hart. Okay. So, Jamie gets on the mic, and she gives props to Julia. She addresses those who have stood beside her in the past. She ends by saying that they've won a match apiece, and anytime Julia wants a rubber match to settle things, it's on. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Who cares? You guys can do this match literally like next week. Like, it's not that important. Like, what are y'all feuding over? Nothing. Like, who cares? Like, this made no fucking sense to me at all. I don't get it. Moving on. So this leads us into Swerve Strickland. He's pissed off backstage. So he said he's going to handle things with Ricochet next week when they meet in the ring in Atlanta. Okay, that should be interesting because NXT is going to be in Atlanta the previous night. Should be interesting. So Atlanta is going to be the place to be on next Tuesday, more than likely, versus next Wednesday. So yeah, I had to throw that little jab in there. And I'm being serious too, because like I said, I feel like next week's show is going to be bad too. It's just, I don't think that things are going to pick up until February, because Tony Khan at that point in time had no damn choice but to get off his ass and do something, because you only have like a month and a couple days to book Revolution, and that's like your big pay-per-view. Well, that begins his streak of big pay-per-views, you know? That's the first big one of the year. It's like their genesis, basically. So, yeah. Moving on. So we get a video package by the Hell Hounds. Brody King, Buddy Matthews, and Julia Hart. They address the voice that has guided them is going silent, promising to only honor themselves. No gods, no masters, no anything. Only violence. Okay, that's fine. So this is more further proof that Aleister Black will be in the Royal Rumble, more than likely. So that should be cool for next Saturday. Interesting shit there. So yes, he will be at the Royal Rumble, more than likely. So I'm so glad that Aleister Black has gotten out of his AEW contract. Makes perfect sense. He's been there for 4 years and he hasn't done basically anything except for feud with Edge just for a little bit. So that's all he's done. Moving on, main event of the evening. Edge, he defeats Pac. Post-match, the Death Riders, they show up and they beat up Edge. And then Jay White shows up and he gets beaten up. And also, before the main event, we see the Midnight Express and FTR. They're in the back. They are tied together by ropes. And one of the members of the Rock and Roll Express, he eats a concerto. So there's that. And that was the show. Did I care about this? No, I don't. Again, I don't give a fuck about this Death Rider storyline. It's a failed storyline. Please end this shit. At Revolution, Edge has to defeat Jon Moxley. There is no other way. This shit cannot fucking go on until July. There is no way we can sit through 6 more months of this bullshit. I can't. I can't. It makes me want to bang my head through a wall until I lose consciousness. Like, I'm serious. Like, I'm not going to hold you guys up. I am so out of fucks to give for the Death Rider storyline. I just don't care. I just do not care. This show was all over the place. I don't really, too much care about it. Kudos for the Hurt Business for winning the AEW World Tag Team Championships. That's cool. And everything else on the show, do I care? No, I don't. But what did you guys think of Dynamite? Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.